Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 64 is Borderlands. Borderlands catapulted itself into the industry in 2009 with one of the most unique, interesting products ever put onto the market. It took crazy, explosion-filled, adrenaline-addled first-person shooting and melded it with the insane item systems and enemy antics of action RPGs like Diablo. The game still has one of the most unique art styles I've ever seen in a game, outrageously over-the-top writing and dialogue, with lowbrow jokes that actually are still, just for the most part, hilarious, and perhaps the greatest introduction cinematic ever made. There's only one other intro I might like more, and you'll have to wait until after Christmas to hear me talk about that one, so, you know, it's good. But the point is, this game released October 20th, 2009. I was 15 years old. If you had asked 15-year-old me what the greatest game ever made was, there's a really good chance I would have answered with Borderlands. It was definitely at least top 5. So what makes it so awesome, and why did it fall to this still very solid ranking of 64? Before I can really dig into the specifics, I want to just talk about the world. This game is set on the planet of Pandora. No, not the one with the blue people, but there are aliens. They're dead. Humanity has been spreading throughout the stars, and we found vaults containing crazy alien technology and resources that are allowing us to rapidly advance as a species. Nobody has found anything to actually prove this, but there's a lot of suspicion that one such vault is on Pandora, so you play as one of 4 different vault hunters. They all come from off-world and set out to strike it rich by locating these vaults and collecting the treasures inside. You can play as the hunter, Mordecai, who focuses on long-range sniping and uses his bird companion, Bloodwing, to do non-gun damage. There's Lilith, the Siren, an extremely rare and powerful telepath who focuses on indirect damage and elemental guns. There are only 6 Sirens alive during the events of this game. Then you have Roland, the soldier, who is pretty good with all kinds of guns, but does specialize a bit in combat rifles and can place a defensive turret to automatically fight enemies. Lastly, there's Brick. Look at him. He punches people and has like 1,000,000 health. You knew that before I even said it. You looked at him. After picking your character, a hologram or something of the sort starts talking to you on the bus. You're clearly the only one that can hear or see her, but she's pretty important. Spoiler alert on this silly shooting game, the plot is pretty meh. And I'm just going to talk about it randomly throughout here, but I'll get the big stuff out of the way now. You have been chosen by the hologram lady to solve the problems of Pandora, locate the vault, and open it. There's not treasure, because you... spoiler, you locate it, you open it. There's not treasure, and instead a big giant monster is waiting for you inside. You kill it, and then there's ramifications, and hey, this is a franchise. Okay, there's a bit more to it than that, obviously. The game is filled with larger-than-life personalities, like the crazy Dr. Zed, who is not actually a licensed medical professional and just likes to hack people apart. Then there's the crazy redneck mechanic, Scooter, and the crazy gun salesman entrepreneur, Marcus. And who can forget the crazy, hilarious, bombastic robot who blindly fumbles his way through helping you save the whole world, Claptrap. Everyone on this whole planet is crazy, actually. And I don't think that's entirely their fault, but I'll get to that in a bit. It's time to get some looting and shooting. The game is a first-person shooter. You do first-person shooter things. Yeah, but that gets a lot weirder than you might expect. There's a pretty good variety to the types of guns you can have, and even across those, there's different manufacturers that have their own strengths and weaknesses. As an easy example, each manufacturer uses a different type of scope for guns that have them, and this is never more apparent than the sniper rifles. But being a role-playing game with equipment and character levels, the guns have stats too. There's different damage, fire rates, accuracy, ammo clip sizes, and so much more. Pretty much everything you can imagine with a gun can be modified based on the stats and other things on it, and probably things you didn't think of too. There's different elemental types that have massive bonus damage to specific types of enemies, like fire is really good against organics, corrosive is really good against armored enemies, and electricity is really good against robots. There's additional effects those can all have, but I don't really need to get into all of that. Suffice to say, they're fun to tinker around with, and as you level up and increase the size of your load options, it's good to have a diverse mix of weapons. I really cannot understate, though, how diverse they actually get. I remember the first time I got the Wave, a quest reward shotgun, pretty early on in the game. It's been 15 years, but I remember it clearly. I equipped it, I fired it, and then I fired it a few more times, laughing and calling my brothers over the computer because, oh my god, you will not believe this gun! The game breaks physics all the time, and shooting an even line spread, wiggling up and down like waves of water is not the only way it does it. You could chalk it up to advanced spacefaring technology, but I'm not so sure that's it. I think a lot of this is just, hey, kooky games are kooky. And we've got grenades that teleport, shields that explode, checkpoint machines that automatically resurrect you when you die and take your money, teleporting vehicles that you still actually have to drive yourself, like they're still just cars. They can only teleport when, you don't need them to. But that's okay. It's a lot of fun to just run everyone over. I love the splat sounds they make. I mentioned shields and dying. In addition to your health, you can, and should, equip a shield, which has temporary health that recharges when you haven't taken damage for a while. But if your health does get to 0, you don't die immediately. Instead, you fight for your life. You're crawling around on the ground with a gun, shooting at stuff as a timer runs down, and if you can manage to kill anything at all during that time, you come back with full shields and a bit of health. If not, you go back to the last checkpoint, but you don't lose progress. Stuff you killed is still dead. Damage on enemies is still there. You just respawn with a new body. Look, don't worry about it too much. At this point, I do want to mention that all of my footage here is going to be of single player for this video, and that's been a lot of my experience with the game percentage-wise, because my brothers and I only had the one computer that could play it at the time. But that's definitely not the best way to play Borderlands. The game is very much built from the ground up for multiplayer. You can drive around together in different vehicles, you can shoot at everything together, and when people are fighting for their life, you can approach and revive them. You'll notice this file is playing as Roland, the soldier. I picked him because he's the character I did the most multiplayer with back in the day. Starting at level 5, anytime you level up, you can spend a talent point, and there's 3 different trees for each character that focuses on different specializations for them. I've always liked the turret gun, so this time I'm building towards the upgrades that make it shoot extra bullets and lower the cooldown for it and make it do more damage, that kind of stuff, just make the turret really good. But back when I was playing multiplayer with the game, I was a medic. More than the other Borderlands games, this one leans a bit extra into the traditional tank, healer, DPS trinity of role-playing games, but it still gives it a hilarious Borderlands twist. How does Soldier heal people? You might think, oh, a combat medic, he's got like med packs and bandages, but no. There's a talent that turns friendly fire into healing. You just unload entire magazines of bullets into people, hanging out in the back. Tell your buddy to stop moving and snipe him in the head. Rocket launchers are especially hilarious. But obviously, none of these support abilities do anything in single player, which is kind of sad. The world of Pandora is pretty expansive, though most of it is kind of wastelands, but not all. You take quests from all sorts of people, quest boards, inanimate objects, corpses, the usual. Most of them are just going and killing specific things or collecting items after killing specific things, and I really don't mind the lack of variety because the core gameplay is so fantastic. One thing you'll learn as you keep doing these quests is that every single person on this backwater planet is out of their goddamned minds. And one quest that actually does have some variety and compelling storytelling actually showcases why. There's a character named Patricia Tanis. She's a researcher looking into the possibility of a vault being on the planet and the effects of the strange alien materials that could be within. You have to collect audio logs from her as she keeps investigating the planet and vaults, and it becomes apparent as you do so that she's slowly becoming as crazy as everyone else on this planet. Something is directly destroying her empathy, and she's acutely aware of this. She becomes increasingly violent, petty, and loot-obsessed. This is never, that I recall, specifically explained in the games, but my personal theory is that there's a reason everyone on the Pandora is so insane. And it's because, I think, of the alien materials that we later learn is called iridium dormant deep in the ground. I think it sort of is brainwashing people and driving them mad. I said that most of Pandora is barren wastelands, or at least some flavor of them. And while I love the Mad Max vibes that are going on, with the psychos and bandits behaving erratically in a way that makes the admittedly shaky AI of the game seem intentional, it's nice to stretch our legs and get out every once in a while. Which is why this game has great DLC expansions. There's an underground battle arena, an almost actual city area, and my favorite, the Bayou Swampy area. It has zombies. The story of this game is technically narrated by Marcus, told like a bedtime story to children. And that's true of the zombies too, but he's clearly just making stuff up this time. So he's not very good at it. Like there's Dr. Ned, totally not just Dr. Zed and a mustache. But this DLC is filled with jokes and zombie puns, and is just non-stop shoot 'em up goodness, even more so than the base game. Each expansion adds all new quests, all new bosses, and importantly, all new guns, including more wild off-the-wall stuff. Borderlands is not a serious game. Spoiler alert for later in the year, but none of the Borderlands games should be taken remotely seriously. But they are seriously fun. Very few games have made me laugh as much as the Borderlands franchise, though I've only actually played the first two. There is something timeless and classic about this first game, and even though I've spent more time playing it than the higher-ranked sequel, not telling you how much higher though, you'll have to find out, if I'm just looking to goof around for a bit, I actually still prefer it for that. You'll see why the sequel is ranked higher when I get to it. Until then, you can join me tomorrow as I talk about my 63rd favorite game, where the timey-wimey gets a little wibbly-wobbly.
Well, if I can get this thing down there to you, there's a good chance you'll make it out alive.